All right, welcome back. This video is something a little bit different. Haven't seen any videos out there talking about ergonomics and size comparisons and that kind of stuff for reels. So here I've got basically the 5 different types of reels and brands, what have you, that I have and use. I've got 2 Dawas up here at the top. I've got a 13 fishing that I just got the other day in the middle. I've got an Abu Garcia Revo down here and an Abu Garcia Ambassador as well, just to throw a round reel in the mix. So basically what this video is going to be is kind of a comparison of these 5 different reels and why each one has its benefits and why you should consider possibly one over the other. Just something to consider just purely from an ergonomic standpoint. Going into this with the assumption that all these are fantastic reels. I've used the Tatulas and the Dawa Lexa that I've got up top here, and I've had nothing but great success with them. I own numerous versions of each one, and the Dawa Tatula is pretty much my go-to reel, especially since I can't get the Lexas at a good price anymore in a right-hand retrieve. So let's just kind of look at the different reels. So, kind of a bird's eye view here. You kind of see the different reels, and look at what you've got in the different sizes. So things to note. For example, let's compare the Lexa to the Revo. What you'll notice is the Revo is wider this way. The Lexa is a lot bigger this way. So depending on how big your hands are, it might be easier to palm one over the other. When you compare that to the Tatula is not quite as deep as the Lexa is, not as long, but it's wide, kind of like the Revo. Still not quite as wide, it looks like, as the Revo. So just something to consider if you've got, broad hands like I do. My hands are fairly wide. I've got big hands. I'm about 6'3". And you can it's easy for me to palm a Tatula. It's easy for me to palm a Lexa. If you've got smaller hands, you might consider going to something like the Revo. For me, the Revo almost just disappears in my hand. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. The big thing that's a fairly common complaint with the Revos, if you compare the profile looking this way to the Lexa, what you'll notice is the main gear and the main gear housing sticks down a lot farther below the reel seat on the Revo compared to the Lexa or the Tatula. And a lot of people complain that their fingers, when they're trying to palm this thing, they end up palming this thing, up banging their knuckles on this reel housing. So the big thing I could say about that is, before you drop the coin on one of these, especially if you get higher, this is a Revo S, so this is just kind of the entry-level Revo. Before you step up to like a Revo STX or a Revo, I've got 2 winches that I actually really do like, just mainly because of the rods they're paired up with. But before you step up to something, on the top of the line Revo, feel how one feels get one in your hand to see how it feels to you. Make sure that that's not going to bother you. Get it mounted on a rod that you're going to fish it with, and really kind of get a feel for how it's going to be before you drop the money. If you've got a buddy that's got one asked to borrow it, and fish with it a little bit to see if it's going to be something that you can deal with. Like I said, no such problems with the Tatula or with the Lexa. Which then takes us to the 13 fishing. Like I said, I just got this yesterday, actually. And I was amazed at how absolutely tiny this reel is. You compare that to the Revo, which I consider a small reel. You see that the 13 fishing is just tiny in comparison. And yeah, the main gear housing sticks down there a little bit, but it's a lot more rounded and ergonomic compared to the Revo. It doesn't stick down as far. So And this one just, again, vanishes in my hand. And I've got a feeling I'm really going to like the ergonomics and like fishing with this reel. Now, I don't know if I'm going to like it enough to switch over all my Tatulas, which I absolutely love, and I've got a bunch of them. But if this reel fishes half as good as it looks, then this is going to be an absolutely fantastic reel worth considering. And then finally, we've got my dad's reel, or my dad's type reel. I've got this on I keep this reel on a heavy bait rod. So throwing an umbrella rig, throwing a medium weight spin or swim bait. It's a Abu Garcia Veritas 7'9" heavy action rod. Rated for lures up to 3 ounces. So it's made for throwing a heavy bait, throwing a big spoon, throwing an Alabama rig or something along those lines. So I've got it spooled with heavy line. But what you notice about this is not a reel that you're going to comfortably palm, like I said, unless you're my dad, and he's an absolute giant of a man. So they have their place, but understand that this is not a terribly ergonomic reel. This is more when you need a whole bunch of line, a whole bunch of heavy line. You need a lot of drag, something along those lines. Because this is something that's just you're gonna sit either have your hand out in front of it with the butt of the rod buried in your side, or you're gonna just be sitting there with this thing in your hand. It's not a reel that you're gonna comfortably palm. It's not designed for that. So just thought I'd throw that in there for consideration. What I don't have represented out here is I don't have a lose sitting out here. I know a lot of people swear by them. I don't have anything against them. I just don't own any. If you get a chance, said definitely something to consider, especially if you're not somewhere, or you don't have a lot of reels and a lot of disposable income to spend trying out a bunch of different reels. Figure out what you need in a reel. If you've got big hands, kind of the sky's the limit. If you've got smaller hands, there are other things to consider other than just the absolute size of the reel, like that main gear housing sticking down there. So, bottom line, shop around, try before you buy if at all possible. And cheers and tight lines.